Hello folks, I hope you're doing really well. I haven't been able to do artwork for a considerable period of time because of work and a number of other commitments. However, I want to start again. So I decided to do a series of warm-up exercises so that I can come back to rhythm and start doing artwork consistently. So in this video, I'm going to do a warm-up exercise using gouache and a flat brush. So these are the materials I have. I have got this new sketchbook, Taylor and Rowney sketchbook, which is less than £7. And this is a really good sketchbook. The paper is really thick and it can handle medium like gouache and watercolor really well. So that's my sketchbook, and I will be using a pencil. So this is a really good pencil, Derwent pencil for sketching. And then I've got two flat brushes here. These are really good flat brushes for beginners. And then for colors, I have this new Himi gouache set, and I wanted to look at how this new gouache set works and see how it can handle flat brush exercises. So this is the new gouache set. As you can see, it has a variety of colors and loads of different values too. So this is really useful, and you don't really have to do a lot of mixing of colors to create new colors. So this is the gouache set I'll be trying today. So let's get started. So I used blue masking tape to define a boundary or a frame for this page. This is not necessary, however, it's useful for you to train yourself for drawing more complex compositions. For example, if you're trying to do a more complex still life composition with more objects, it would be useful to use a frame to decide where you have to locate certain objects. So in addition to this, I might be using these clips to hold the paper together. So let's get started. So what kind of colors can I use for this exercise? The apples contain a variety of reds and oranges and yellows, so I will be using these colors in this gouache set. And also I might be using a little bit of green to add more energy, and a bit of white here for this exercise to highlight the most bright spots on the object. Because this is a warm-up exercise, I wanted to do a really simple object. So I'm drawing an apple, which is a really simple object to draw. However, it's a really useful object to draw because the shapes and the positioning of light and dark spots will give you a chance to experiment and learn the tricks. So to do the sketch, I'm using this simple broken line approach where I just mark the overall shape of the object. I'm not doing a lot of complex drawings here, so it's just drawing the overall shape of the object. That's all you need, and if you make a mistake, that's totally fine. Just simply draw the shape. So that's where your apple is going to be, and that's the shadow. That's it. And then this is where the stem is. And that's the stem, and then this is your object. And it doesn't really have to be similar to your reference image. It doesn't have to be precise, and I'm a strong advocate of loose painting. So here you go, that's your object, and now you're ready to paint. So my strategy is to start with the darkest spot on the object and work backwards and go for the more light areas. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to start with quite bright dark red. So like I said, this is a flat brush exercise and I don't want clean clear edges, so I'm going to use a very loose approach for painting. And this is the first time for me to get an idea about the way gouache behaves. And I can see it's kind of oily, so it would be good to mix the paint a little bit so that we can get the dark pigments. So this is, if you're working with new paint sets, and this is where there's a bit of learning. You have to learn how to work with the new medium and learn the tricks to avoid unnecessary issues and mistakes. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting colors down and just identifying the areas, the darkest areas in the object. Right, so now the next thing I can do is basically start thinking about shadows. For that I need a different color. So for shadows I've created this dark gray color. I mixed white color with brown to create this really dark gray. So let's use that to create the shadows. So this is where my shadows are. So just marking the areas. Right, that's my shadow. And don't worry about these areas, the mistakes. You can fix them quite easily because gouache is a really good medium, a forgiving medium. You can fix your mistakes quite easily. So after this I'm going to create the background. So again I'm using really light gray color to create the background. Use different values and that will give more energy to your painting. I'm mixing a lot of white color with brown to create really light shades of gray. So this means that you're not really drawing using just one color. You're using different values. The initial work is done. Now let's start working on the object a little bit more. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange to add some energy to the drawing. So let's work here, here, and then here. and bring in lighter orange. And then finally I'm moving to yellow. Here, use the thickness of the medium to your advantage. Feel free to apply colors on top of other colors. That will add some value, bring in some quality, and make your work more artistic. There you go. Now these areas are the brightest areas in the object, so I'm going to work on these things later, but I want to bring in a little bit of green to the equation now, right here, a little bit of green. You go, and a little bit of green here. Bring in and add a little bit of green here and there, just to add some quality to it. And finally I can move to the white color. So you make sure you wash your brush or use a different brush. Then you get some white color and then apply the white color on the brightest areas in your object. Right here. So that's your white colors. You might feel like I'm using too much color. That's totally fine. And you can fix it later. So I'm going to go for a bit of yellow and then kind of blend the white color with the rest. Okay, so we have the initial shapes done now. So let's work on the stem. There you go. Again, it doesn't have to be precise. You simply need the impression of a stem, and that's all you need. Just add a little bit of red. And then a bit of yellow. There you go. And finally, tiny bit of dark green. To highlight the darkest areas in the stem. That's it. So we've got the stem here, and now let's work on highlighting the darker areas of the object. So what I'm going to do is basically increasing the values gradually so that the object looks more 3D. Darker shadows, darker areas, dark brown. Let's increase the intensity of the shadow right below the object. To bring up the values, darker values even here to this region. There's a bit of shadow here in this area, so some shadows would, there you go. Let's work a little bit more on defining the shapes. So this side is the bright side, so if you apply a bit of white color here, your object will have better definition. It will look sharper. So a bit of white color. So this is me painting after a few months. So as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit. However, if you do a few exercises like this, you will get it back really easily. So in an ideal scenario, you should be able to do this with the minimum number of brush strokes. So here, let's bring in some light. Okay, so the basic object is now done. So let's work a little bit more on the background, just to bring in more energy to the background. Sometimes I tend to overwork on these things, but the whole point of this exercise is to bring back the rhythms and be comfortable with drawing consistently. So there's no harm in playing with the colors. There you go. So that is our first warm-up exercise, drawing an apple using loose style gouache. So let's remove the masking tape and see how it looks like. Alright, so I have removed the masking tape, and this is the first page of my sketchbook. So as you can see, this is an experimental sort of warm-up exercise just to get used to the rhythm of painting using gouache. So the key points, first of all, you just need a rough sketch, and then you mainly start working with darker areas, and then you go for light areas. You're not trying to recreate the object as it is. You're not trying to draw something perfect. I'm trying to go for loose painting style here, so the brush strokes can be seen. That's okay, that's part of the style. So don't worry about using big brushes, it will help you. So go from dark to lighter areas. Make sure that you use really light color like white to highlight the brightest spot on your objects, and that will give it more of a 3D kind of look. And then highlight the lighter areas outside the object, so the object will get defined better. So and also highlight the shadows, that will give you a nicer look to your object. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next video.